Found a button, lost the button, and here's what the button said. There's my little recap for the recording. Oh my goodness. All right. Oh, I'm out of breath already. Okay, we're going to try this. So the button, I know you're all waiting with bated breath. What does this button say? It says, I found Jesus. He was behind the couch the whole time. Oh, I'm glad this tickles you because it really tickles me. To me, this button is like, it's got theology mixed into it, which makes this minister's heart very happy. It's got humor in it. But what I love is it really humanizes those teachers, those great leaders that are so lifted up in many different faith traditions, whether it's Jesus in Christianity, whether it's the prophet Isaiah amongst many prophets in the Jewish tradition, whether it's the prophet Muhammad or the Buddha. We have these leaders that have such wisdom and such vaulted words that are sometimes worshipped in ways that should not be worshipped and lifted up in ways that bring a lot of misinterpretation. And I love that when we think of Jesus or any of these prophets hiding behind the couch, it reminds us that they were all human beings, that they were all flawed and profound teachers that can bring us such peace and comfort and also joy and celebration with the words that they have, that the learnings and teachings that we can find in the world, whether it is through teachers or whether it is through nature or whether it is through the brilliance of the universe, can evoke such a spectrum of responses in us, right? That's why, in part, I love this button. And this month we are practicing and deepening into the theme of joy. Now, for those of you who might not know, there's this thing called Soul Matters that lots of UU congregations subscribe to that help us reflect collectively on a common theme each month. And they do a handy service for us in providing a packet that help those of us who are leading services together to get inspiration and ideas and get the wheels spinning. I thought I would share some of the angles, the sermon seeds that they offered around joy, because it was very illuminating to me, just like that button, of all of the ways that we can think about and consider joy. Because on the surface, I bet we all have kind of a gut reaction to what joy means. And then when you start to think about it, you're like, whoa, joy has got a lot more to it than it might seem. So here are a few of those sermon seeds. Joy can be ordinary and mundane. It's not found or chased, or sometimes it's found, but it's an emotion, a feeling that is cultivated. That joy is tangled up with pain and suffering and sorrow and fear and anguish and loss. That we have those things at the same time that we can have joy or happiness or levity or brightness, right? We do that every Sunday when we celebrate and acknowledge the joys and sorrows that we are holding in the tender sanctuaries of our hearts, right? We can hold the multiplicity and the complexity of both feeling joyful and also recognizing that genocide is happening in our world. We can share and spread joy. Like, we have that in our power as a gift, as a grace to other people. So this is that component of what joy asks of us. What might happen when we take that little extra effort to be compassionate or kind to another person, and how that might spark a little moment of joy on their day, whether it's standing in line at the grocery store or...
All the time.
That is awesome, Keith. I love that. I love that. We share and spread joy. Joy itself, we know, also can be tempered or even robbed when we allow worry or vulnerability or feelings of scarcity to overwhelm us. And that can happen sometimes, like it just does. But when we create patterns or don't seek help to say, oh, I'm being buried by these feelings of worry, by these feelings that I can't actually be both joyful and sorrowful at the same time. When we ask questions like, who am I to be joyful? Right? We find transcendent joy, full of awe and wonder. I have heard stories about some of you who have gone to the state park with that sounds installation that our guest, what was that person's name who was here last month? Yes. The gift that James was offering with those sounds, I bet those that have experienced that walk probably had some transcendent moments of joy. And then, of course, joy as an act of resistance and freedom and hope, even of survival, as Ross Gay says. So Friday was the International Transgender Day of Visibility, celebrating trans joy, trans presence, trans vitality. What a thing to lift up and celebrate. And then Saturday, yesterday, our hands-off National Day of Mobilization. 2 million people, estimates are saying, around the country, all 50 states. Thousands of actions, from a few people gathered on the street to gatherings in the capital cities to taking over streets of New York. 1,200 locations. I was in St. Paul, where there were 25,000 or more people gathered. I saw, is Dan here? No, I don't see Dan. I saw Dan. I ran into Dan. And you were there too. I didn't run into you, but I saw the bright yellow and black signs all throughout. Oh my goodness. That is joy as resistance and freedom and hope. There is a study. I wish I had the note here in front of me, but I tell you, it really is a researched study that says that any country that has mobilized 3.5% of its population, 3.5%, to resist authoritarian, oligarchy, anti-democracy, or country leadership, can overthrow that leadership. It only takes 3.5% of a population to create enough disruption to wake folks up and to enact an overthrow of that kind of tyranny. That's a perfect word, right? We, on Saturday, got 2% of our country involved. That's amazing. That's amazing. Joy is also something that dignity demands. And I want to share this quote from Austin Channing Brown. Black girls and black women alike have our joy misconstrued as disrespectful, arrogant, or perpetually inappropriate. Our joy is suspicious. And what right have we to joy when we have so much work to do? We aren't just pursuing racial justice when we are organizing or voting or protesting or speech making or volunteering or working. We are also pursuing justice when we indulge in joy. Think about that, how we sometimes inadvertently or on purpose punish people for expressing or experiencing joy in whatever way they may. Something for us, I think, to reckon with. There's creative joy. There's abundant joy. There's minimalistic joy, joy that is quiet, and joy that is exuberant. All these characteristics and quality of joy. Joy is also a practice, and that's what we're going to experience a little bit today. I know the clock is ticking, but we're going to do this activity anyhow. Because we need to practice joy too. Because joy in this way helps us find or notice or be struck by joy in the ordinary, like between the cushions of a couch, or behind the couch, or around the corner, or up in the sky, or in the ordinary things of doing dishes. And we're going to start first with this mindfulness practice that Thich Nhat Hanh has done. Our late Thich Nhat Hanh, the very profound Vietnamese Buddhist teacher. In his classic book, Peace in Every Step, he talks about this practice with his work with children. We don't have any children here today, but I wanted to bring this anyhow in case we did, because it's something perfect for people of all ages. So we're going to share this little meditation practice, and then we're going to do another practice. I know, 2 activities. So this one is called Tangerine Meditation. And when you hear it, think about how you might be able to apply it in those mundane moments of ordinary life. He writes, "One day I offered a number of children a basket filled with tangerines. The basket was passed around, and each child took one tangerine and put it in their palm. We each looked at our tangerine, and the children were invited to meditate on its origins. They saw not only their tangerine, but also its mother, the tangerine tree. With some guidance, they began to visualize the blossoms in the sunshine and in the rain. They saw petals falling down and the tiny fruit appear. The sunshine and the rain continued, and the tiny tangerine grew. Now someone has picked it, and the tangerine is here. After seeing this, each child was invited to peel the tangerine slowly, noticing the mist and the fragrance of the tangerine, and then bringing it up to their mouth and have a mindful bite, in full awareness of the texture and taste of the fruit and the juice coming out. We ate slowly like that." Can you picture the joy, the simple joy from that fresh, sweet fruit? The mundane, ordinary act of eating a tangerine that came to us from earth and the many hands who cared and growed it and brought it to our table. That is pretty joyful, I think. And now you get a chance to practice joy through poetry. Oh. Some of you might be going, "I don't like poetry." Some of you may be going, "Yay, poetry." I love poetry. I find poetry to offer us moments of surprise, from really simple poetry to complex poetry. And I picked a poem today that I think is fairly simple. I think. We'll see. But what I love about poetry is with multiple readings or multiple hearings, it can invite us into surprise. And so I want to introduce a practice that some of you may know. I'm new to Scoof, so perhaps this has been introduced here before. It's called Lectio Divina. Is this something people have heard of before? It is oh good, we got one. Carolyn bravely raised her hand. I think Cindy knows it too. So Lectio Divina, as you might guess, is traditionally a Christian practice. Lectio means to read. Divina, as you might imagine, is like sacred or divine reading. And so traditionally it is done with scripture. It's a practice where you read a passage in the Bible, and you can go through a series of certain types of prompts to be able to reflect on it. We're going to do an abbreviated version of it, and we're going to do kind of a contemporary version that uses sacred text that is sacred to whatever your sense of sacred is. And for me, poetry is a sacred text. And for many, you use poetry as a sacred text. You notice we use a lot of poetry in our Sunday services. We're going to read a poem 3 times. Can you imagine we're going to read a poem 3 times? Because it's the repeated readings that help us deepen in and to find surprises and maybe aspects of joy within the reading. I'm going to prompt you on what you're going to do with each reading, and Cindy's going to help me with this. I'm going to read it once, and then Cindy's going to read it, and then I'm going to read it a 3rd time. And this first time of reading, all that you need to do is notice if there is a word or phrase in the poem that sparkles, that shimmers, that just kind of says, look at me, hello. Don't think about it. Don't analyze it. Don't go, well, that was a dumb word. I should pick a better word. Whatever word it is, just notice it. Are you game for that? All right. I'm going to read it the first time. How are we doing? Oh. Okay. I'm going to read it. We're going to give them a pause, and then I'll cue you to read it. Okay? We're going to do the second one, the shorter one.
Okay.
This is a poem by Sarah Lindsay. Small Moth. She's slicing ripe white peaches into the Tony the Tiger bowl and dropping slivers for the dog, poised, vibrating by her foot to stop their fall. When she spots it, camouflaged, a glimmer, and then full-on happiness, plashing blunt, soft wings inside her as if it wants to escape again. Notice. All right. Do you have a shimmering word? Okay. Set that aside for a moment. You're going to read it, hear it again, and maybe that same word will shimmer, sparkle, or maybe another word will. Who knows? Let's be surprised.
She's slicing ripe white peaches into the Tony the Tiger bowl and dropping slivers for the dog, poised vibrating by her foot to stop their fall. When she spots it, camouflaged, a glimmer, and then full-on happiness, plashing blunt, soft wings inside her as if it wants to escape again.
How you doing? You got your words? All right, for this final reading, see if you notice an invitation. Is there something that these words or this poem might be inviting you to, or toward, or from? Whatever that invitation might be, see if something comes. And if not, that's okay. A third time. Small moth. She's slicing ripe white peaches into the Tony the Tiger bowl and dropping slivers for the dog poised vibrating by her foot to stop their fall when she spots it. Camouflaged, a glimmer and then full-on happiness, plashing blunt, soft wings inside her as if it wants to escape again. An invitation to joy, to connection with others, with nature, with the universe. We can practice joy just like we practice gratitude. And maybe afterwards, during the social time, if you want to, maybe share the invitation or the word that you heard with somebody else. If we had more time, we would do this collectively, but I am pushing time. But that's all right, because joy with practice can almost be like a tuning fork that makes the world feel brighter or freer or easier even for just a few moments. We all deserve joy. Don't hesitate to feel joy, to seek it out, to let it come to you. It is a healing balm that lifts us up and reminds us of our linkages to life, to possibility, to surprise, to appreciation, to peace. Stay open-hearted to the tender transience of life, borrowing words from Maria Popova. Because in the transience of life, this is where joy is. Blessed be, and amen.